Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Trevor Flowery himself, Sir Ben Kingsley. Filmmaker Destin, Daniel Cretton. And finally, amazing moderator, Aaron Couch.
Well, thank you for being here and making this great show, although I was sad that Joey Pants, one of my favorite actors, kind of sucks in the MCU. So that I'm wrapping my head around still. But anyway, it's a great show. As Borys said, this show created jobs in LA. You can see it on the screen. People say it's hard to shoot in LA. It's expensive, permits. How did you guys find shooting in LA?
Oh, I thought it was absolutely perfect because, I mean, that's the landscape that we inhabit in the series. That is the dream environment to be filming there for us was perfect.
My first feature I shot in Los Angeles for $60,000, so it can't be that hard to shoot now.
Destin, this kind of feels like you going back to indie roots, right? I mean, you and Andrew kind of created something that feels like a cool indie dramedy. I mean, you're making some of the biggest movies in the world right now. So was that something you pitched Marvel? Let's make this small. What was the pitch for you guys?
Our pitch really was character first. I think that when people say indie style, it typically is an aesthetic that is created to serve the performers, because when you don't have a lot of money, that is your big explosions you don't get, your VFX you don't get, but what you can get is capture a live performances that are surprising. The aesthetic is kind of built around being able to let the actors have as much freedom as you can, and having an environment that can move nimbly, and oftentimes that means, sometimes we're going handheld, sometimes we just keep rolling and go through a few takes, so you can let amazing actors like Sir Ben and Yahya just go.
One of the real superpowers of this show is the insane chemistry that these two men have. Yahya and Sir Ben. I'd love to hear your origin story of this relationship. Do you remember when you first met? When did you realize, this is a guy that I can really riff off of and trust on the screen? How did you grow that relationship?
I'll let my colleague answer that.
Man, it was really an absolute pleasure working with Sir Ben. We had a conversation early on, a brief introduction of a conversation, and from what I learned about that was that he had a respect for the craft, just an absolute respect for acting. That's what I love so much about observing his process. He respected himself, he respected his space, and he, from the very beginning, he appreciated the words. I have a similar appreciation for the work, and really that's what you see on screen is really two actors having an appreciation for each other's craft. And I think, Sir Ben, you said within the last couple of days that we discovered each other in between
Absolutely,
takes.
yeah.
That was really what the process was like.
We discovered each other as friends between takes, and then we discovered the relationship between the characters whilst the camera was turning.
Absolutely.
And I do think, Destin, that the camera, I think you would agree, the camera loves filming people discovering one another rather than an over-familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
And both Yahya and myself are committed to our craft so deeply that our private everything is subservient to that in a decent way, I mean. So that I don't think either of us have very demanding, crazy social lives at all.
No, not at all.
No. So with the greatest affection and respect in the world for my colleague, we did not hang out. That's what we did not do. what we did was discover each other while Destin's camera was rolling, and while we savoured the wonderful writing of Andrew, and our respect for the words was met by your affection for the characters and the beautiful way you crafted the scripts. We just poured our energy into your words.
I actually recall right after the first phone conversation that you two had, because I was a bit nervous for Yahya, for that first conversation.
Yeah, you were.
You know, I was telling Yahya, like, Sir Ben is the loveliest human, the most gentleman of set. But in the beginning, he likes to make sure that he is working with people who are going to be as dedicated as he is. And so, you know, I kind of loosely told Yahya, just be prepared. And then they had their conversation, and I got on the phone with Yahya, and he said, "You didn't tell me what that was going to be like." And I was like, "I tried to tell you, you did not tell me." But to Yahya's credit, he did not buckle with intimidation. He said, I see what Sir Ben is like, and I like it. And so he said, I am going to be the next time I see him, I am going to be ready.
Man, you have a great. That's exactly what happened, man. That's exactly what happened.
It was like a fire. Whatever happened, you lit a fire under him. So then I remember when that first table read came. First table read, Yahya was off book and just like ready to go.
Yeah, and Sir Ben was just reading. He was just reading the lines, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You just gotta read."
But there is nothing wrong with having high expectations of one's colleagues.
Absolutely.
And I had very high expectations
Absolutely.
of you, and that's a compliment.
Absolutely.
That we pay to each other continually when
Absolutely.
we work.
Yeah.
Andrew, this crowd, I could tell, was really appreciating some of the inside references to the entertainment industry. Did you have a dial of how far to go? You know, I'm thinking about what I thought was masterfully done was Yahya meeting Joey Pants, talking about the Matrix. Joey Pants saying, "I would be a knight if I were British," to Trevor. That was masterfully done. Do you have a dial of how meta to go? How do you do that?
You know, I think there's a lot of concern often about doing a show about the entertainment industry that it's going to feel too inside. Everybody who works in this town feels like, "Oh, we get this. We think it's funny. Will the rest of the world understand it?" But I think the approach was to use all the lingo or inside stuff as specificity to create really a story about somebody that anyone can relate to, somebody who's got a big dream, who's doing whatever they can to chase it. And I feel like that's something that anyone can tap into. And whether he happened to be an actor or doing something else, you want the world around him to feel real and believable. I mean, that was the goal, was to create a grounded, different kind of show for Marvel. And that's what they wanted from the beginning, which was just amazing, that everyone from the start wanted that from us, which was lovely.
And we talk about it being different. There's melancholy to this show. You know, these guys are lonely and they find each other. Did Marvel say, "Yeah, let's go melancholy"? I mean, did they embrace that?
Not in those words.
Kevin Feige didn't say, "I want
You did
melancholy."
say more melancholy, Andrew. I mean, to me, the thing that's the trick is these two characters are selfish and narcissists, but we still have to like them enough. And part of what makes you connect with them is that loneliness, is that melancholy. They're lost and they care, and you know, getting to work with this group. We've never gotten to do a Q&A together. This is the first time the four of us have gotten this, but these are all storytellers. That's the thing I learned more than anything from this process and this project, is that everybody who's good at this job, whether they be in the sound department, the first AD, if they're storytellers, they know what the scene is about. They're looking at it through as an audience, knowing why the scene is happening. You turn the camera on either of these gentlemen here at any point in a scene when we feel like, oh, this scene isn't working. Well, let's find Yahya, let's find Sir Ben, because they're always in the moment. They're always telling us as an audience what to be paying attention to. And to me, that's the magic. And Destin can always find them. You know, it was really astounding to be a part of.
Destin, your longtime composer did this. It's unlike anything Marvel's done before. What was his assignment? When you, I presume you or Andrew talked to him, go score this.
Joel P. West, I should have told him to come tonight. He's just like chilling at my house right now. But yeah, his assignment was to go weird. That was assignment number one. To not try to do anything that would typically be attributed to a superhero show or movie. And assignment two is something I never have to tell him because it just naturally happens, which is to capture the heart of the characters. And that's, I think the score is one of the most beautifully interesting, intricate scores of anything that I've done with him.
So Simon and Trevor, to my eye as a novice, they seem like they're very good actors. I mean, playing an actor, what's your dial of how good to make these guys? Because they seem they're really...
Well, what you don't see before Simon arrives, you see him auditioning. What the audience knows, because of my history with Trevor, is that he was so consummate as the terrorist that he really frightened a lot of people. So I know that whilst playing the Mandarin, tragically, Trevor was on heavy doses of drugs and alcohol, and giving his probably his best performance under those circumstances. He had the courage to say, "Can I do this without being intoxicated and addicted?" So what Andrew and Destin have presented us to as actors is the man who is inventing himself and a man who's reinventing himself. And that is that there are so many lovely resonances in our character's portrayal that's why it's almost inevitable, unless you're really clumsy, not to make this a duet. Because it's written as a duet, but the duet is in the bass notes, not in the obvious high notes.
Yeah, I mean, it's many. It's many years ago. You were a laid-off architect, decided to become an actor. Can you still remember that? You still tap into that, as you're playing Simon, to remember being hungry and needing something so bad.
Oh yeah, man! I didn't have to go back that far. I still got dreams, man. You know what I mean? Admittedly, while we were filming this, I think I might have been 8 going on 9 years removed from graduate school. From graduate school. Had a Tony nomination, had an Emmy Award, but still was feeling like I haven't done the thing that I want to share. I haven't said the thing that I want to say. And that's enough to step into this role and to have, is that you? What's up, man? Oh man, it's good to see you. And that's enough. And that's enough. Well, I'll explain that at some point. And that's enough to tap into a character, a guy with an unmet need, with a true, sincere, unmet need. I mean, I remember, we sat in the car and Simon says that's a number three.
Yeah.
That's a number 3.
Something to look forward to.
He says, I feel like, I feel like it's never gonna be me. You know what I mean? to me, that's still attached to some dream that I still have that I can't wait to get my hands on. So, you know, I definitely understand what it's, you know, what it's like to feel like nobody sees what I really have to offer. You know, and that's because personally, I'm still working on something that I believe is special that the world hasn't seen yet. So I still have my ambitions, and I definitely understand that that doesn't go away no matter if you're on day one or hopefully on, you know, day, you know, year 10, year 20, year 30. You know, I try to keep my dreams alive.
Although the ladies and gentlemen haven't seen that scene, you do perform it so beautifully, and you hit a nerve in my character, because my character's also thinking, will I ever be? Will I ever be? He's still thinking that.
Yeah.
Because of his addiction. Will I ever be clean, and will I ever walk on stage and deliver what my mother always believed I would deliver when I was a child?
Yeah.
And I think Trevor's response, I know that my inner response to the way you did that line was definitive, was don't say that. I can't bear to hear those words in this car. Don't say it, because it was him as well as it was both of us. It was both of us at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
You guys are so good together that watching you watch Midnight Cowboy, I could watch that. Why Midnight Cowboy, and was that expensive to license?
I don't know if it was expensive, honestly. We had to get permission from anybody you see in that film. So Dustin Hoffman, et cetera, signed off on us using it. But that was the first image that sort of came to me when I first met with Brian Gay and Destin to talk about this project. Was I thought of these two as outsiders. I thought of Midnight Cowboy as this mismatched pair. It's a relationship that has some underlying things, there's some secrets to it. Ratso's trying to get one over on Joe Buck. Joe Buck has big dreams, and it's about a friendship. That movie is about a friendship, and that was a real inspiration. I was so glad we were able to use it, and to me, watching them, as you're saying, watch that movie, I could watch, that could be the whole movie. Probably won't be very good. Yeah.
That's just one of that theater is one of the locations you went to. What was the White Whale location that you got, that you really wanted, you weren't sure, are we gonna get this? Was there anything like that?
I mean, I wasn't sure if we weren't going to get it, but Tex, a diner in Echo Park / Silver Lake, it's right on the border. But I lived, when I first moved to Los Angeles, where everything was intimidating, and I was, you know, I felt very, very small. But that was one place where I would go to eat the wedge salad. And I can still hear the crunch of that lettuce in my mouth, and I can feel the way that you know, that naivete, that eagerness, the optimism that I felt when I first moved to Los Angeles. Even though I was living in an apartment that I swear is almost exactly like Simon's apartment. This one-bedroom apartment in Echo Park, where I made my first feature, where I wrote my second feature, where I lived on Top Ramen, and never cleaned that place, and it stank, and it was dirty, but it was also the first time that I asked a girl out on a date. She came over to that house before we went on the date, and now she's my wife. So much happened.
Did you? How many hours do you shut down takes for that? I mean,
It was a full day.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a day.
I think
Yeah.
they were actually closed at the time. I don't know if they're back up and running, but that restaurant's been off and on for a little while.
Yeah, it was the sad reality is a lot of the places that we were able to shoot at were functioning at the time, and are not functioning now.
You did go down for the strike for a while. Did you? I mean, I guess you couldn't write anything, but did you know, maybe as a filmmaker, did you get to think about stuff that improved the rest of the season, or how did that affect?
Marvel got to think about stuff. Marvel had shot about half of the show at that point, so there were cuts for the first 4 essentially, and they spent those strike months thinking about it internally, and writing pages and pages of notes that was like, for when we came back, that was like this thick. But it was helpful in some ways. And, no, not just because Marvel's standing right over here. But it was also just a scary time. I mean, it was a scary time for everybody. And I remember being here at the DGA, going to WGA meetings where there was, people talking about whether we were going to strike or not, and then going back to set and having people on set come up to you and being like, what's going to happen? Are we going to go on strike? And thinking, oh God, I was the eternal optimist that somehow it wasn't going to happen, and then, it did. And but we made it through, which is the good news.
I mean, the thing to remember also about Marvel, and Brian Gay is here, and I don't know if any of our other producers are here, is a lot of them went to film school. The people who work there are movie lovers. They adored this show. And if we all knew what was happening behind the scenes during that time, a lot of shows were being canceled. We were halfway through ours. It could have been a tax write-off for Disney, but I know for a fact that the people who were producing this show, like Brian and all of our amazing team there, were fighting their asses off to make sure that we came back and finished this weird, melancholy show that was a big swing for them. So I'm very appreciative of everyone there.
Well, thank you for being here and making this great show and sharing this with us. We appreciate it. And, thank you all. And if you could, just stay seated for a moment while we let these gentlemen make their exits, and then we appreciate you coming. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.